It comes as no surprise that a great majority of us are addicted to our phones. Let me walk you down the routine. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll through TikTok, Instagram Reels, or YouTube Shorts, sucking yourself deep into the social media rabbit hole for a few hours. And eventually you decide to begin your day, but you notice that half of your morning is gone. Now, due to your actions of mindless consumption, you inevitably suffer the consequences of feeling groggy, mentally delayed, and get absolutely nothing done for the rest of the day, only to repeat this horrifying addictive cycle again as you slowly become a shell of your potential. This is the dark future that awaits 99% of people. But to prevent this from being you, here are the tips to break social media addiction and regain control over your life. Number 1. Commit to change. And I know this probably sounds like an unsexy answer that you didn't want to hear, and you probably expected me to say something along the lines of delete social media, swap the habit, which are useful tips, and I'll touch base on those later. But for now, before we could actually get to those steps, you gotta first sign a mental contract with yourself and really internalize why you want to break this addiction. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, and don't be in denial or lie to me when I say this, because by the very fact some of you expected me to give you the quick fix goes to show that instant gratification has control over you. And bro, first and foremost, you gotta understand that it's a habit, and a habit in which you built over some time of numbing your brain and conditioning it to chase cheap novelties. And half the time you're doing it for one of these reasons. It could be you're doing it to be entertained for a brief moment, wanting an escape from reality, or comfort, or seeking something that falls in the same line with comfort through avoiding the discomforts of just existing. So by you thinking you could reset your brain in some 24-hour challenge manner, then you, bro, have already mentally forfeited yourself from regaining control over your mind. And not to sound pessimistic or anything, but bro, I'm willing to bet that a great majority of people will not make it to the end of this video because their attention span is so fried that they can't sit down, listen, pay attention, and give themselves permission to look and approach it in a way of playing the long game instead of the short game. Because bro, that's really all you have to do. And you can't fix this in one day or 2 weeks or even a month. Because I'll tell you, it took me a long time, like roughly 8 months to fix this problem. Now, some of you, it may vary, but if you allow yourself to listen and free up the time you spent on your phone, just imagine half the things you could be doing, achieving, and especially the life you could be creating for yourself, where you're able to focus on things that matter, such as like your schoolwork, your actual work from like a job, assuming some of you guys are actually working jobs, listening and paying attention to people when they're talking, and also being more mindful and intentional throughout the day, and really anything that requires you to live more wakeful and meaningful life that reality constantly tries to wake you up to. Because this is a lifestyle that you're gonna play for the rest of your life. And this is me assuming you want to use social media to your benefit rather than your detriment. Or if you want to get off social media entirely, the next steps will still be valuable and applicable, however you say that word to you. You feel what I'm saying? So now that you've committed, we now move over to step 2, and that's to understand why you pick up your phone. So in other words, we're gonna talk about dopamine. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna talk about dopamine. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am no neuroscientist, I am no Andrew Huberman or some shit, but I'm just gonna tell you the best way I can. So dopamine is basically like a neurotransmitter and molecule that motivates us to pursue things or avoid it. And obviously you guys know that it's usually associated with pleasure, right? So each of us has a baseline level of dopamine that travels through our bodies when we achieve something that's satisfying. So for example, when you achieve something or satisfy a desire that you have, for example, eating a piece of chocolate, having sex, or getting lots of likes and validation from something like Instagram, from those alone you experience a spike in dopamine, and that feels good temporarily. Then what happens after that is that you experience a dip below the previous dopamine baseline, which is why after you experience something you originally wanted at first, like again, for example, eating a chocolate bar or even doom scrolling for hours, it results in you feeling like shit. So when you're constantly overstimulating yourself, your dopamine baseline doesn't have any time to refill itself, and it won't be as high as it was before. And that's why these short-term things don't feel as good as they initially did. But keep in mind that dopamine itself isn't bad, because remember, it's associated with a craving and a pleasure. But where you get that dopamine from determines the quality of your life. But it's also fair to let you know that dopamine levels can be improved upon once you pursue something meaningful that'll take a bit of time, or when you feel as though you're you're on the right path. Kind of like watching this video, so you are on the right path, assuming you made it this far. But when it comes to social media and phone addiction, it's specifically designed to keep you hooked and engaged with it without any awareness of time. So preventative action needs to be taken, but luckily for iPhones, I don't know about Androids, but iPhones have these settings where you can limit the amount of things that pop up in your face or that make you eager to use these apps. So these next steps require you to set up your phone in a way that enables you not to use your phone as much. Which again, if you're committed, you shouldn't expect me to say delete social media, because what tends to happen if you delete social media in some righteous manner, most of the time the urges to go on will come back. And I'm gonna be honest, you're not that strong yet, because it's the equivalent of trying to lift really heavy weights when you're a beginner in the gym and you should be in like the PE class. Or let me think of another analogy. It's like you're level 1 trying to slay a level 100 dragon. I hope those analogies make sense, but I think you get the point. By rushing to the end and trying to get it over with, you're not getting to the root cause, the root problems, or trying to reduce it bit by bit. Because if I'm being honest with you, it's futile and you're not going to get very far in getting rid of it. And it would inevitably just come back. So within these self-contained steps, the first actionable step I'm going to tell you, and do this right now after I tell you this, is to silence your notifications. Now I already know some of you that will likely keep the apps for who knows what reason. Then in that case, at the very least, just silence the apps. And only use it in a way as if it's urgent, and let's say anything school or work related stuff goes on which requires you to use them, then that's the only time you would open them. You feel what I'm saying? But real quick, I just want to make something clear. Let's dismantle the bullshit. If it's Snapchat, Instagram, just get off of it. Straight up, just get off of it. People should have your number, and don't give me no excuse like, oh, it's better. In that case, you didn't commit. Like, you literally skipped the first important part. Don't make any excuses. Don't cope. These are non-negotiables. Again, these people should have your number, or if they don't, at least ask for theirs and tell them you're gonna be off. You don't have to delete your accounts entirely. Just deactivate it for now. And if they call you when they need you, they call you. If they don't, and it requires you to have a social media presence for you to stay in touch with them, then they're not your friends, and it's definitely not worth it. So don't waste your time. So I'm gonna mention this again. Anything ranging from Instagram, Snapchat, emails, etc., turn it off. And some of you are probably asking me, but Mr. Noah, what if I need to get into contact with my parents? Well, assuming you have an iPhone, go in the settings and enable it in a way where if your noties are silent, I said noties, I feel cool saying that. If your notifications are silenced, just those few people like your parents will show up so they could bypass it. And boom, there you go. If your parents need to hit you up or need you for something, you can get notifications from them. And also, just a quick mention, keep your phone on do not disturb. Now let's move on to the next step, and that's to put your phone in grayscale. As a matter of fact, how does it feel watching this? Do you feel uneased? Unsettled? Does it bore you? Well, that's what you have to do. Some will put you out of this step, but if you don't go at least a week with having your phone in grayscale, you can kiss your time and attention goodbye. The reason for putting your phone in this grayscale is for the sole purpose of making your phone boring to use. Because like, as soon as you see it, it becomes less attractive and dull. Like, bro, think about it. When we see all types of pretty colors and brightness to it, what that signals to our brains is attractiveness, and it looks like candy to us. The tech geeks have hijacked our brain psychology to know what we find attractive, so that results in us using our phones for hours. Like, bro, not to get off topic, but the average Gen Z spends close to 9 hours a day on their phone, just staring at a screen daily. Just think about that. I'm not good with math, but I looked at the numbers and stuff, but that's 37.5% of your day wasted looking down at pixels for 9 hours. And over the course of a year, that's roughly, what is it? I told you guys I'm bad at math. I just did the research. That's 136 days of doing that. But that's why it's so important for you to take this action step all the more, because this doesn't look like it's gonna stop anytime soon. And it's just gonna keep getting worse as technology, and now with the invention of AI, advances to hijack your mind. I mean, look at what it's doing to Gen Alpha. In fact, bro, think about it. For you to even watch this video in the first place, the thumbnail had to be customized and put together in a way where there's bright, pretty colors that attracted you in the first place, which is fine. I mean, shit, I work the same way. It's human psychology, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But it goes to show you that if all my videos look like it came from the 1950s, you would not watch. And that's completely fine, because I'm the same way. I'm not too far. I'm not that different from you guys. So keep that in mind. By adding this gray filter, it will act as a barrier from you using your phone for that long. Now we get on to the good stuff you guys were waiting for me to say and that you wanted to hear, and that's to Drum roll, please. Swap the habits. So this one is pretty simple, and it requires you to go outside and do activities that don't require the presence of your phone. So you can be entertained without using your phone. And now that it's on gray filter, then it now enables you to not mindlessly use it. And you can now free up your time by going on walks, exercising more, socializing with friends, or even reading books. Honestly, I think reading books is probably your best bet. Not to get off topic or anything, but most people can't read. And what I mean by not reading the words or text on the page or on a screen, but as far as how long they can read for. Believe it or not, a lot of people can't sit down and read 10 pages of a book or less without feeling the need to be stimulated by their phone. That's fucking embarrassing that we all need to pull out toys. And yes, I'm disgusted. Mordecai disgusted face. Look at that. Because we can't even sit in silence for a few moments without feeling discomfort. But I digress. That's an option you could try, or taking up an art class or learning guitar as options too, which I'm probably consider too. There's a lot of options out there, but what I personally like to do, in case you guys are interested, to reduce my likelihood of using my phone is I'll spend a good chunk of my time listening to podcasts or going outside, embracing nature now that my phone's in black and white. And bro, I don't even have the urge to scroll anymore. I just appreciate the colors of reality when I look at stuff in real life. It's kind of weird. Like every time I see someone with like for example, someone's wearing a black tank top, I'll be like, look at the way the black looks on them. Wow. And for some reason, I do have the urge to check my phone, even though it's rare. What I'll do is, and here's a tip for you, I'll look at my new lock screen as a reminder of what I should be doing. So this goes into the minor tip of setting up your own schedule. Now, some of you may be in school or work, so your day has pretty much already been assigned to you, and that's fine. But how cool would it be if you just had the day to yourself, which you obviously do, you have weekends and stuff, right? And you spend 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours on your phone, and instead created a schedule for yourself where you do activities you like to do. I'd like to assume most of us, right? Unless you're a bot that likes to have society and daddy tell you what to do with your day, then okay, that's fine. But I like to assume that's not the case for most of us, especially if you're watching a video like this. So in this case, set up a timetable and a block for everything, similar to how you would when you have a schedule in school. So I work right now, but the days I don't work, it's pretty optional. I don't have to work, but like when I don't work, this is what my schedule looks like. I'm gonna put it right here on the screen, and it doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but you get the idea. And the thing is about me, I usually have this as like a wallpaper, as a reminder to me to know what to do at a given point in time throughout the day, so that way I'm not distracted and I can be present and in the moment as possible as I want. Kind of like how I'm with you guys right now. I'm like staring deep into your soul. I'm like present. I'm saying I'm like multiple times, but I'm just, existing. The timetable will serve the same purpose for you, and you don't necessarily have to follow the same schedule every day. Life is obviously going to happen. Things are going to come up, or certain things in everyday life you have to do, but just try your best to stick to your schedule, just to get into routine and habit, and making sure you do things that reflect your schedule. So just being productive throughout the day. It doesn't mean like work. It just means things that you create for yourself with actual intention behind it. And if you want to, just experiment with it and see what works best for you. This is your schedule, not mine, so just give it a try. Moving on. Then the next step to break your social media addiction is to delete the apps. I know, I am on a roll, aren't I? Another sexy answer you wanted to hear? Yeah, I knew you were waiting for that. Yeah, yeah, but not necessarily. So like I said before, deleting social media off rip won't work, because just relying on willpower is useless. So assuming you're a content creator, you run a business, or if you just don't want to use them mindlessly, at the very least have them uninstalled from your phone. But unless you're a content creator, or you're actually using it for something meaningful and productive that's going to change your life, in my opinion, I'll say the ones that offer short form content or cheap dopamine, such as Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and even YouTube, since YouTube is technically a social media, those gotta go. And I'll reiterate, on your phone, because it's an addiction. You're gonna end up using these on autopilot. So we have to reduce the likelihood of using them mindlessly and have some friction in using them. So what I did is I have YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc. all on my computer. And I'm not gonna lie, I have some humility and say this. When I was first starting this, I tried to use them mindlessly, which was to be expected. But the difference is it didn't work because it required so much more effort to actually like type in the websites and get to them. But now that I'm like fully committed, remember that, committed, and only use YouTube at this point. Since I'm a content creator, I'll only use it to play podcasts in the back, listen to long form content. Hopefully this video is long enough so it's considered long form content, to generate ideas and learn and create stuff so I could bring value to you guys. The difference is you're not just binging pointless YouTube degenerate videos. You're using YouTube with intention and mindfulness rather than just on go. It takes much more effort to think about what you want to watch rather than just tapping on it, being bombarded with so many videos by the touch of a button. Because contrary to popular belief, and I know a lot of self-improvement gurus will disagree with me when I say this, I don't necessarily think consuming intentionally is bad. Because at least if you have the ability to raise your hand and say, I'm gonna consume some content, or at least consuming stuff that's actually gonna help you, but you actually like vocalize it, like you verbalize it out loud, it's not just on autopilot. Because just binging, eating Doritos, and just unknowingly wasting time, that is bad because you're not even conscious when doing that. It's just, again, it's a habit. The point is just transfer those over to your computer or laptop just to make your use of it more intentional. You know what I mean? Then finally is dealing with the fear of missing out. So obviously, you know that social media could give you a warped perception of reality. And oftentimes people will compare their looks, money, and status to other people. And comparison in that manner is the killer of joy. So at this point, you shouldn't be on it. But if you have FOMO, which I like to assume most of us do, then it's completely understandable. But that's why understanding why you're doing this in the first place as a constant reminder is so important. Because when you take all the steps that we discussed in this video and ask yourself why you started this in the first place, the desire to become a better you and live a more meaningful life will far outweigh short-term pleasures of knowing who's doing what when you keep yourself busy. Like, bro, I'll let you know, I have not been on social media for almost nearly a year or posting on anything besides YouTube, since, you know, I am a YouTuber. And at some point taking like a 6-month period off of YouTube to reinvent myself, because beforehand, in case you guys don't know, I was making Amigo videos, but then I stopped. I found more value in making these types of videos more than But nevertheless, once you get out there, touch some grass, and interact with real life human beings, FOMO just disappears instantly. And one tiny bonus before I finish off this video is to get a journal. Write out your feelings and emotions when these, like, I guess, feelings come about, with the fear of missing out and other stuff. And I'll let you know that I've been journaling for almost 3 years now. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was low-key gay, but journaling forever changed the way I view and see things and how I go about tackling lingering emotions in my mind. And I'll let you know one of the benefits it gives you that mental clarity that you need in approaching whatever obstacle you may be going through, which in this case is social media. You can either do this in Notion, which is not sponsored, I wish I was, but ideally I just say get a physical journal, like this one right here, because what this does is that it forces you to think a lot more when you actually like write it down on paper. And you don't have to have all these bright lights over your eyes when you're writing down your thoughts, because, you know, it's just a regular piece of paper versus a Notion template would be on your phone. No, I'm playing. But whichever one works best for you, that's just my opinion. But once you take all the steps we discussed about in this video and commit to change in this lifestyle, then your life will unfold and become way better than you ever imagined once you regain control over this addiction. But yeah, bro, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a friend who needs to hear or see this especially. I'm gonna see you guys. Peace.